A few weeks ago I posted a video about my hanging workbench. Since then, I've made some improvement and changes that made it even more functional. I've been using it quite a lot. In this video, I want to show you some of the improvements that I've made. I've added a mechanism that allows a single person to both open and close the folded bench by simply attaching at both legs a sliding lock mechanism, as I'm demonstrating here, that makes it very easy to unfold the table and get ready to work and fold the table at the same time. Simply cut a piece of wood that will fit between the two legs and attach the hardware required to keep the legs attached to the bench. Forgive the shakiness of the camera here. I also added 2 coats of polyurethane on the top to add some strength and durability to the cover. I mean to the top, not the cover. Lastly, I added a power strip to the end that I will show you in a moment, that will allow me to use tools on the bench without having any hanging wires from anywhere. And there is the power strip. The power strip does not interfere at all with the operation of the bench. Those yellow beans are very inexpensive. They are $10 at Target for 10 of them, I believe. And the only thing you need to be careful is to make sure that nothing interferes with the operation of the bench. I found these beans to be very useful. And Target also sells some bigger and deeper ones that they're black that I'm considering adding to the wall. I apologize for the spanning of the camera. I'm still trying to figure out the best way on how to shoot these videos by myself. One of my favorite tools is this extension tool that allows you to use large pieces of wood on your table saw or chop saw. And what is really neat about this is that it has a series of ball bearings that allows the tool to be used in either direction without much worry, or if you're just working on long pieces, it can turn and have simply a roller. In fact, I like this tool so much that I intend to purchase a second one. I initially purchased it for an outfit assisting tool, but I think I'm going to put it on both sides of my table saw. While it is very nice to have huge extensions to table saws and chop saws, unfortunately, if you work out of your garage like I do, that is not always possible. This tool really changes to go to virtually every height you want to match the height of your specific table saw or workbench, and it is very easy. There is no assembly is required. It's fairly inexpensive. I think it's either $29 or $39. And frankly, unless you've been in woodworking for years and you have a lot of scrap, the wood that you will buy to build some of those extensions that they're so popular on YouTube will probably be more than that. In addition, this is my garage and I like to use it as my garage. Now there are some things that really worth building, and those are jigs like sled jigs for your table. They're indispensable when it comes to certain projects, and this is mine. I've chosen to put only one instead of 2 guides, and I chose to go with a metal versus a wood guide because the metal does not expand or contract and allows me much greater stability. This is of course a very common jig, and I plan to build a bigger, smaller one, because I found out that when I really use a sled, I don't need something as big as this. So I will probably make a video on how to build it and how I build it a little different than most of the people. And I get very high accuracy without any of those techniques like the 5-cut method, and still get excellent results.
There is a lot of discussion relating to brands of tools and cheap versus expensive tools. However, inexpensive and cheap are not necessarily the same. There are also a lot of people that do not like Ryobi. However, I do have many Ryobi tools and never have problems with them. The key here is what is called the duty cycle, and that's what separates professional tools from non-professional tools, and that simply means how long the tool can operate continuously before it heats up. So even the cheapest tool will work as long as you take care of it and you do not let it overheat. Black & Decker is a very common tool and it is fairly inexpensive. Ryobi I would consider a middle of the road tool, and every woodworker or every do-it-yourselfer should have at least 2 sets of drivers. This one here is an impact driver, and it is more powerful than a standard driver. And the way you can separate an impact driver from a standard driver is the lack of a chuck. As you see here, there is a chuck that holds the drill bit, and also a clutch that controls the speed of the chuck. This is the same for every manufacturer. You see, the Ryobi is exactly the same as the Rigid was. And a very good option for beginning a shop is a multi-tool like this one here. Multi-tools allow you to use the same batteries and the same the same motor, and change heads, so you can have a saw, or you can have a sander, or you can have a reciprocating saw, etc. Again, Black & Decker makes a variety of tools at reasonable price that can be purchased in most every place. As long as you take care of your tools, no matter what brand you buy, you are going to have good results with them. This is a sander, an orbital sander, a very good tool for everyone. And this is a reciprocating saw. This is a jigsaw made from Ryobi. And there you see a router. Let us talk tools now. Routers are very useful tools on the web. However, because they are a little more difficult when it comes to operation, I would recommend that you reserve purchasing a router until you have mastered a little bit of using tools, and then use your router in scrap wood to learn its operation. Also, be very careful when you operate a router, as it generates not only a lot of wood dust but also can be a very dangerous tool. Forgive the unsteady camera again. I am trying to figure out a way to generate these videos by myself and make them look good, so I might next time try a tripod instead of walking around with the camera. As you see, I have several types of tools, and Rigid tends to be my favorite brand. But the important part when it comes to both how long the battery stays charged and the power has to do with what battery you have. Lithium ion batteries do not seem to lose their charge with time and also provide a lot of strength. And I wouldn't purchase any tool that didn't have at least 18 volt capacity. 20 or 24 is even better, but of course the higher you go, the more expensive the batteries get. So 18 volts will be sufficient for most tasks, but if you can afford 20 or 24, I would definitely recommend going that route. The question then will turn into jigs, and a lot of people do not like jigs, especially pocket hole jigs. I actually like them. I use them in many different products, and it is a very easy to create a very good, a very strong bond between two pieces of wood with or without glue that otherwise will be very difficult to achieve. And here are some random shots of my office and my attempts to organization. The yellow bins you see in the background are fairly inexpensive. They can be purchased at Target, and they're a very good solution when you want to see miscellaneous parts that you cannot organize in any other way. What are the basic tools you should have? Definitely a set of drivers and definitely some measuring tapes. You see here three examples, 30 foot and 212 foot. I have 4 or 5 measuring tapes. The brand is not important. What is important is that within a simple within a simple project, you should keep the same measuring tape as there is variation between measuring tapes. This is an example of a cheap tool. This is truly cheap. This drill cost me only $5 and I very rarely use it. The battery doesn't last long enough and it is not really powerful enough. But on occasion, if I need some light duty work, I will pick it up. I would not recommend, however, to buy the cheapest tool possible, as usually the cheaper the tool, the less likely it will last long and it will provide you good service. Most drivers today are chuckless, which means that you simply use your own hands to remove the bits by turning the two colors in opposite directions. The lithium batteries, as you can see, are much smaller in size, they are much lighter, and they provide a much better service life. Always keep manual tools as well. Here is an example of me using pockets when I wanted to attach this shelf to the wall. Even though the pockets are not intended to carry a lot of the weight, they keep the shelf very tight to the wall and do provide a little bit of structural support as well. One would be hard pressed to tell me that this is not a great use of a pocket joint. I would have a minimum of 2 drivers, one having a drill bit and the other having some form of a screwdriver bit on it, so you do not have to continuously change between the two. As you see, I have several and I quite often use most, if not all of them.